Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for F1, and this week we have the dreaded, chaotic, and beloved Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We are finally done with the European leg of the season, which means things will start to get tense up front if they're already not, and of course that the season is nearing towards its end. And what better way to celebrate this milestone than going to Baku to race? You know, the race with everyone's favorite corner type and a super duper long straight. In theory, everybody should hate this track, and I think we do, but it's kind of good though. For some reason, drivers lose their shit when racing here since there are simply too many incidents. Literally last year, Sainz decided he wanted the race to be over a couple laps early, so he crashed into Checo on a straight, mind you, and brought out the safety car. Around this track, drivers just lose all common sense and start driving like stink meter, but hey, I'm not complaining. It's a nice change of pace from the rest of the season since, let's be real, you can predict half of these races right now, at least under these current regulations. But not Baku. For all we know, we could get a boring nothing race like in 2016 or whatever the race was just a year later in 2017. So it's very hard to predict how the race will go since championship context doesn't even matter. So here are my two realities. The race is either A, average with some good wheel to wheel but ultimately nothing too crazy, or B, features Charles winning after Oscar and Lando fight a little too rough, which gives them both damage but not enough to retire, only enough to live out the race in anguish. Either way, you know me. I'll be seated for whatever I am given on my plate. Let's just see when this race begins at 4 a.m. Aw man, whatever, I'll tough it out, but don't get on my ass if I sound lazy on Sunday. So let us see by listening to teams to watch, the drivers to watch, the drama from the weekend prior, and of course, my stinky predictions for the weekend. So go subscribe if you're new if you like waffles, and let's get to quacking now.
See those clouds up in the corner? That's where the rain is coming from.
As always, people, we have the teams to watch first up. For those who missed it, by the way, we have a new regulation period next year, and according to my calculations, next year is like 3 months away, so in other words, there ain't no upgrades anymore. Teams would be very dumb to introduce an actual competitive package that wasn't like some tiny part for a tiny gain, so don't expect the field to change that much anymore. What we have is what we'll keep until Abu Dhabi. So this section is now the teams to watch, and if you've been paying attention recently, many teams have lots of pressure right now. So starting from the bottom of the grid, I say keep your eye on Haas since they have been a little ass lately. See what I did there? Yeah. I know, I'm the best. Haas have had a rough go of it lately. At first, they were doing really well, but the past 6 or 7, don't say it, weekends have been very mid. I wouldn't even say mid, to be honest. They have been good, but not enough to where they can score points. They're always in like 11th or 12th, and it's really hurting them. They have 44 points this season, and a normal one, they would be like 6th or something, but instead, they are 11 points back from 8th and 42 points back from 5th. This midfield has been ultra tight, but Haas needs to be tighter, which luckily Baku seems to be a great track for them, so let's see how they will do. Next is Racing Bulls, who just like with Haas may need to get their act together. Obviously that podium in Zandvoort was amazing for the team, but Monza was a horrible weekend otherwise. If you have noticed this season, the team have kind of been all over the place. Maybe in 1 or 2 weekends they look real nice and a high up place in the midfield, but then in the next they will be jerking off at 15th with no hopes or dreams or money or girls, nothing, man. Monza was one of those weekends and they can't afford it, especially when Sauber still have momentum and Williams still have Albon. I trust in Hadjar, know he'll do good, and while Liam still struggles with his incident here and there, he is very rapid when not crashing, so all he needs to do is lock in again. I personally think Baku could be a great circuit for their car, but they also have drivers who have never raced here in F1 machinery, which could be tricky for them, so let us see how they do. Next up is Aston Martin, who again, just like the other midfield teams mentioned, need to lock in. But more so Aston this time, since man, you know how unlucky Alonso is? Personally, I think that stuff is exaggerated half the time, but this season in particular, kinda not really. Most of the time when he's up in the points positions, some nefarious bullshit has to get in the way of him, which ruins his chances. Last race, it was a suspension failure that killed him, and I guess Aston's spirit as well, since they left Lance out there in the race with no strategy, just vibes. 2023 and 2024 were one thing, but Aston cannot afford to dick around this year with so much on the line financial wise. I mean, maybe they can considering their owner, but don't be boring, man. So much is at stake for this battle of 5th between the 5 teams in contention, and anybody could realistically still win it. If we're being real, it would be Aston considering their facilities, but that's beside the point. Baku has to be a great race for them, which I don't know, man. Looking at past years, I'm not getting hope, but never say never, I guess. Now for the top dogs, and I start with Red Bull. could they do it, you know? I'm not talking about the constructors because that's impossible. I'm talking about Max here. I don't know what they did in Monza, but clearly it works since Monza has usually been a bogey track for Red Bull. Think 2024, 2022 to an extent, 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018, you get it. But not only were they good, they looked fantastic and the best they've been all year, I'd say. Maybe Red Bull likes Italy or whatever, but who's to say the same can't happen in Baku? Sure, the 90 degrees might be tricky, but the super long straight should make up for it. If they can set the car up right, which I know has been difficult this year, I think Red Bull and specifically Max could do it again this week. So let us stay tuned and find out. Next up is Mercedes. Has anyone seen them recently? Where were they in Spa or Zandvoort or Monza? They have been nowhere. I mean, George is finishing in the top 5 and Kimi looks good when he's not trying to kill people, but like, where are they? They are making zero mark on the grid as of late, and you never would have guessed it, especially after the beginning of the year. I just don't have much to say about it since Baku probably won't be much better, but who could predict the weather, right? So step it up, Mercedes. We need to see you in action again. And finally, I have McLaren. I'm gonna keep it short since he could likely predict what I have to say. Monza bad, Baku who knows, Abu Dhabi, blah, 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 blah. McLaren are gonna win. That's all that matters. What matters is if they could just lock in and not be idiots for once. Now for the driver to watch, and I say keep your beautiful eyes on, of course, Checo Perez. Wait, he isn't here anymore. Aw, man. Well, keep your eye on both Bearman and Colapinto since last year both of them scored points, albeit it was a one-off appearance for Ollie. Franco was in a Williams and the race was just like Adrian's friend group, but hey man, maybe they really like the circuit and could do something wonderful here. Lord knows they need it. But now for the drama of the past week, and I begin with the news that Ferrari are cooked. I just made a video about this, so I'll keep this short. Basically, Wolf Zimmerman, genius with engines, is leaving the team for Audi next year once the engine is complete, which no matter what you think, is not good for the team. Personnel leaving close to the new regs is never a good sign of not performance, but a stability, which already makes 2026 an off year potentially. It is reported that the engine is good, but like I said, there are bigger issues at play, so who knows how 2026 will end up for Ferrari. Maybe you should watch this video. Now for the real new news, and I begin with the news between Red Bull and its sacrificial offers, including some potential new ones. So after the Monza F2 race where Lindblad was on a killing spree and the F1 race where Yuki was doing whatever with Lawson, it's been reported that the one-eyed meanie is looking at some new faces to sign, specifically Alex Dunn. Dunn is currently with McLaren, which if you ask me, he would be an idiot to drop that. However, maybe this deal could be worth his time. If you guys remember, Bortoleto was a McLaren Academy driver, yet he dropped that since, I don't think I need to explain why, and given how everything is right now, I highly doubt Dunn will ever get in with McLaren even if one of the drivers leaves. Unless they become midfield again, Dunn may be cock-blocked out of McLaren and perhaps F1, but there is Red Bull. You know, the guys with two teams? Say Hadjar gets promoted and Yuki gets the boot from the sport, Dunn could be the replacement given how Lindblad still needs to sort out his racecraft. But there is an issue with this. Dunn is horrible at racing too. Maybe he's quick, yes, but his racecraft has arguably been worse than Lindblad's, and this move just wouldn't make any sense to me. This brings up a bigger issue surrounding Red Bull, but now is not the time to get into it. Speaking of Red Bull though, next up I of course have Max participating in a non-F1 race. That's my boy. I don't care if you love or hate Max. Max participating in a race at the Nürburgring in GT4 cars is awesome. It's clear he's trying to get his license to compete in faster series, which to me spells out that he intends to retire from F1 very soon. Even though the season is nearly over, I'm still of the bet that he will retire at the end of this season, but I digress. Max impressed at his GT4 outing since even though this clip looks hilarious of him dropping back, that's because he's a rookie and the series permits that rookies must have a detuned car, so he was like 150 horsepower down on power and much heavier through no fault of his own. In the race against the other detuned cars, he was minutes faster than his competitors and even faster than the other non-detuned cars, which is really funny to think about. Imagine Charles wanting to drive in the Indy 500, but to do that, he needs to get his Indy license by performing in the Indy Next Series. If you don't put that grown man down and just put him in the fastest series already. But yeah, Max doing this is awesome since a real racist competes in all or most forms of motor racing, not just in one series, because apparently you're in the best one already. Not saying any names. Finally, I have Lando Norris watching gay porn. I originally put the clip here of Lando watching the good stuff, but as I should have expected, the video got flagged for inappropriate content, blah 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 blah. So just find the video on Twitter. I swear it's funny. Maybe this is what Mazepin meant when he told George he has a secret about him that some may call it coming out. Anyways, enough of that. Now for my juicy predictions for Baku that you, of course, skipped to. As always, must be stated that we'll predict 3 things: the top 5 in the quali, the top 5 in the race, and and a random prediction from any session. It should also be noted that these predictions are based on nothing but pure vibes, so bear with me. No sprints this weekend, so let us begin with the main event and qualifying, and I predict that the top 5 on Saturday, starting with 5th, will be Albon, 4th will be Lando Norris, 3rd will be Max Verstappen, and 2nd will be Oscar Piastri, and for pole position, I have Charles Leclerc, who gets his 5th pole in a row at this track. Now for the race predictions, and starting with 5th, I have Lewis Hamilton, in 4th, I have Lando Norris, in 3rd, I have Max Verstappen, in 2nd, I have Charles Leclerc, and the winner of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix is Oscar Piastri, who does it without an illegal car this time. Time for my random prediction, and I think in the qualifying, someone will crash in Q3, bringing an abrupt end to the session. Also, make sure to join the Discord to make your predictions for the weekend and have a chance to appear in the winners and losers. So that was my weekend preview. I have no clue what to expect here, which is nice, you know. Most of the races on the calendar are pretty predictable. However, Baku is almost always a 50-50 chance. It's either boring bullshit or the best worst race you have ever seen. So let us see how it ends up. Anyways, I want to give a quick shout out to all members of the flock for the continued support, and make sure to join if you want cool benefits as well as just helping me out. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe since it really helps me out. Make sure to let me know in the comments what your predictions are, and as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.